Good evening and welcome to Wednesday Night Wellness Live. I'm Dr. Andrew Merrill here at Nightlight Chiropractic, and this is the video that we do each and every Wednesday night that brings to you, the viewer, all kinds of great information about things that we talk with our patients each and every week. And this week, I've got a very special guest on here with me. This is our 48th Wednesday Night Wellness Live, I believe, and only our third special guest, and this is my father, Dr. Dan Merrill. And so the title of tonight's talk and what we're going to talk about here this evening, which I think is going to be beneficial for you, the viewer, is things that my dad taught me about medicine as I was going through it. And as we have some of this conversation, and I think you might enjoy some of these stories that are really intriguing, really interesting stuff that I've heard maybe once or twice, but I think for you hearing it the first time will be applicable. I want you to understand that the take-home message isn't things that you should learn about medicine. It's things that are applicable to you as a patient in the American healthcare system, right? Because I think that's a neat dichotomy between my father and myself. So without further ado, Dr. Dan Merrill here is practicing pediatric anesthesiologist at Walter Reed Medical Center, where he's been practicing since 2000. But I got to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there because I want you to give me, in some of your own words here, a little bit of your credentials, right? In your own words, you went to medical school where?
I went to the Military Uniformed Services University in Bethesda, Maryland, where I've pretty much been my whole career now.
All right.
Off and on.
Right. And then residency was?
Residency was anesthesiology residency at the Naval Hospital Bethesda, which is now Walter Reed Bethesda. Same building though. And following my residency at Bethesda, I did my pediatric anesthesia fellowship at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And then I had a full career in the Navy and retired in 2002. And during part of that time, the family got to go to Newport, Rhode Island, grew up in Spain, Rota, Spain. And we grew up and had a nice military career. All the time I was being an anesthesiologist, and for the last 18 years I've been a pediatric anesthesiologist primarily. I like taking care of little kids mostly.
So let's steer them into kind of what your day-to-day is, because a lot of the viewers are patients of mine here, so they understand my day-to-day in an office setting, all outpatient care. People come in with pain, and then we do whatever we do, and then we send them away. Your day is a little bit different, right? So in a hospital setting, just describe some of that setting for me, like from start to finish.
Well, anesthesiologists are some of the first people to get in the hospital for the day. Certainly the residents and the medical students have to see all the inpatients and be ready for rounds. But what we do is we come in and we get the OR ready to go, because we have to be there ready to go before the surgeons are ready to go. Patients show up, we evaluate them, make sure we get our consents done, make sure all the paperwork's done. We're in charge of the record keeping in the OR as well as the caring for the patient, so that all the surgeon has to do is focus on whatever they brought them to the operating room for. Or another thing we do is called non-operating room anesthesia. Sometimes it's just to do a test on somebody, or they need a bone marrow biopsy, or they need to you have to go to the ICU so that they can do a scope under sedation. So there's a bunch of things we do. But we start out early in the morning, and I'm there before 6 a.m. because we have to get rolling. And we get done when we get done, but it's not unusual to have a 10-hour day, and that's kind of the life I've been living, and I like starting early. I'm an early morning person.
So truly a hospitalist though, right? I mean, you work in a hospital setting, that's what you've always done. Everything that you do is to that setting, right?
Every one of my patients has to be NPO. That means they haven't had anything to eat or drink for at least 8 hours. Sometimes babies, you say 2 hours. But yeah, the risk of having something in their stomach get into their lungs is a bad deal. So it's all about safety.
So in the day-to-day between what you do and what I do, there is very little in common, I would argue, right? Very little in common. I don't start my day till noon. I don't know if you knew that, but there's something to be said for starting your day at noon out there. Although, don't finish up until later. But anyways, the title of tonight's show is Things My Father Taught Me About Medicine. and his doctorly, fatherly wisdom was imparted on me all the way, kind of starting from elementary school, middle school, high school, and certainly into college and chiropractic school. So we have a few things that I think would be beneficial to you, and I'm going to just jump right off with them. You had taught me, I think as I was going through chiropractic school, that when you're evaluating musculoskeletal complaints, so when somebody's got musculoskeletal pain, it's important that you always touch the patient. If they say it hurts right here, you touch right there, and attempt, in your own words, kind of explain to me and to the viewer why that would be beneficial to them, that the doctor actually touched where they were having pain.
Well, I guess I would put it a little bit differently as kind of laying on of hands. And because what you're doing is a musculoskeletal and it relates to a specific condition that the patient has, for me it's all about establishing a relationship with the patient. And if they are going to have an operation on a particular area, I make sure that they have a chance to tell me a little bit about it so that I know things that I'm going to have to worry about while they're in the operating room. But another thing for me is the bedside relationship is what I like about what I do for a living. I am with a patient one at a time at a time when they really need to be sure that somebody that they can have some confidence in is there taking care of them. So laying on of hands for me can be as simple as the handshake, number one, for starters.
Which I don't think you can do anymore, for the record.
You can do it, and then you can put sanitizer on.
Coronavirus. So the handshake might be out, but it's important for the viewer, right, that you're establishing some rapport with the patient and also showing that you are that you are interested in knowing exactly where their pain is and not just getting a lip service. The way that you treat pain, the way that I treat pain, very different. But neither one of us has a crystal ball to show exactly what's going on. For the patient out there, I think it's important to understand your doctor is supposed to touch you. Your chiropractor is supposed to figure out what's going on by laying their hands on you. Your medical doctor should do the same. Any specialist that you go to, if they're evaluating your musculoskeletal pain, I would argue should make sure that they are touching you at some point throughout the exam to make sure that they are understanding where your pain is coming from just as well.
And just to add to that is we do have specialists called pain specialists, pain management specialists, and those are the people that would really get into all of the specific musculoskeletal conditions that you have and how to approach them with biopsychosocial approaches, which currently try to minimize the use of narcotics for any sort of a long duration. And there are contracts you make with the patient. That is not my particular specialty, but I like to be close to the children and their parents who are very anxious, who's taking care of my kid. And so I try to establish a relationship that way.
Sure. All right, so number two, so make sure that your doctor is paying attention to you, putting their hands on you if you have musculoskeletal pain. Number two, it's okay to be skeptical about certain science, research, treatments, paradigms, etc. You taught me that somewhere along the way, and I think it was as I was getting into chiropractic school, because there has always been certain thoughts out there in the general public about how medical doctors and chiropractors don't get along. And I talk about this a lot in these videos because I work with a whole bunch of other orthopedic doctors, pain management doctors, physiatrists, neurologists. I work with a whole team of medical doctors alongside me and behind me that help me to make sure that we get the best outcomes for our patients here. And you had helped me to kind of see past some of the skepticism and ostracism that chiropractic ran into. And you have a quick story about that. I wanted you to kind of share your quick story about that with the audience here.
Sure. Well, I hope I don't make it too long, but when I was a teenager in college and my friend took me to see a chiropractor for the first time, all he said was, "Hey, why don't you come along? I'm going to get an adjustment." Okay, what's an adjustment? I had no idea. He said, "Come along, you'll find out." So we were in Massachusetts, and it was a 100-mile drive to get home. But before we could even go home, we had to drive to New Hampshire because they had no chiropractors. They weren't allowed in Massachusetts.
What year was that, ish?
Let's see, that was I graduated class of 70, almost 50 years. So about 1971, 72.
50-year time frame.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So it was quite a while ago. And on top of that, I got tremendous benefit from my problems from a chiropractor. And I continue to go later. I would always go back to this Dr. Corliss in New Hampshire. It was a 50-mile trip out of my way later, but I would go there. And then years later, not only were chiropractors kind of second class, but also if you were an osteopathic physician,
Right, DO.
DO was not the same as an MD, and they were kind of like two different camps. Some of the best surgeons I know are DOs because they do rigorous training before they do anything else, and they can be surgeons.
So have you seen that all kind of blended together more now where specialists work together? I know there was a chiropractor, in-house chiropractor there at Walter Reed for a long time.
Yeah, a colleague of yours, I think one of the faculty of the college you went to.
He's now at Parker
But
College.
yes, when I was on active duty, I took advantage of the guy. I could just go down the hall and get taken care of by a chiropractor there. Now, chiropractors are well recognized, and I just wanted to say that because of my own personal experience with how good chiropractic care helped me, I was totally happy with Andrew's decision to become a chiropractor, and I just have no disregard for the second opinions of other people. Things like fibromyalgia, that was another thing that was kind of,
Sure.
they said it's not real. And now pain clinics deal with that kind of a diagnosis all the time.
So that's that potential skepticism or at least deeper thought about some of the topics as they're coming out. I know you still exercise it today. We're going to talk about it here more in just a second, but it's important for you, the viewer, to understand that all kinds of different professionals out there in medicine have different ideas about what's going on. And I think a lot of us can all work together, and there's room for a lot of varying opinions about similar conditions that overlap. They don't, they're not antagonists. They're not designed to be at odds with each other. They're designed to be part of an algorithm so that every single professional fits in to get you the best care. So understand that when I'm referring to an orthopedic doctor, when an orthopedic doctor is referring to me, it's with your best interests in mind as the patient. So leading us right into, on the topics of food, supplements, and medications, we've had some great long conversations. You do so much research on this, probably more than any medical doctor that I've encountered or maybe ever met. Give me some thoughts real quick about food, supplements, medications, how they all mesh together in like a 1-minute synopsis, your position on medications versus supplements, and maybe why. Quick.
Oh boy.
Right?
Okay.
Summarize the entirety of it.
So we have long conversations about the different supplements that are out there, and I do research them. I have newsletters that will present a side of an approach to care, and I will then investigate a little bit further, and then I'll get it from another angle, and then I'll go and research it on the internet. What I have found is that supplements are now part of more and more what we used to talk about, and Andrew's been very interested in, is the whole concept of anti-aging, which doesn't mean you're not going to die. It just means how to live your healthiest years in the aging process. So there are things out there that are definitely beneficial supplements, and I consider myself a big experiment.
Sure.
So I try a lot of different supplements, and I research them as well. And I know that some of them help me. And my wife Elsie and I will have fun playing memory games with things that happened back in high school. And she's good at it now too. And there are things like that that
Sure.
help to make life better for us.
So you definitely take a lot of supplements. Do you take a lot of medications?
No.
Right? Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. So the idea that you can do a good job treating a lot of different ailments by the way that you eat, the way that you exercise, and some supplements can be a good first line of defense without jumping straight into the pharmacology that a lot of medicine has now become, unfortunately. You'd echo that statement?
Yes.
Closely?
I think part of it is our healthy, our habits here in Western America are not conducive to good health. The food we eat, the lack of exercise that we have as a general whole, there are certainly great exceptions to that, but I think we need more preventative approaches to healthcare to improve the quality of our lives. rather than a prescription, which is treating a symptom, and the symptom doesn't always cure the problem that you're treating the symptom for. So I think that's the big thing about prescription medications.
It treats the symptoms and doesn't get to the underlying causes there. So we had a question come through, which supplements do you take? And I'm going to stop it right there because we don't have time in this segment to go over the supplements. If you're really interested, if you throw a comment on there below, I will try and get that list for you, and I will email you the list of supplements. If there is such a list. I don't know. Is there a list?
I would just say, for starters, for everybody, you should take a daily multivitamin. That would be good.
That's a good start.
And then in terms of supplements for aging, the vitamin supplements, not only the fat-soluble D, A, K, and E, but also the water-soluble supplements that vitamins that you may not get in your regular diet. They don't have a caloric value, but they are coenzymes for a lot of the biochemical pathways that your body relies on, and there's no point in not maintaining optimum equipment, your machinery, as you get older.
Sure. Somebody else wanted to know about anti-aging stuff, and I know that we could probably have a whole other conversation about longevity and anti-aging, but did you want to comment on some of that anti-aging? I mean, I mentioned this before in one of the videos that we did, that having a good diet, getting good exercise, right there is going to get you many, many more years than any supplement that's on the market now. And I would argue that probably more than any supplement that is soon to be on the market. So if you start with good diet, good exercise, you're going to get the best healthy years out of your life without any other supplementation, without any of the other facts. In a separate video coming to you soon, we can talk about some more of those specifics, I suppose.
A couple of things that jump to my mind, though. One of them is neurocognitive functions. So things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, several of the other things that are related to aging. And then cardiac function and things that are related to optimizing your heart and your circulatory system. Those are things that you can do something about with supplements that I think is beneficial. So
any particular ones you want to throw out there, like one or two for neurocognitive decline?
Well, we've been using turmeric in various forms, which is a very good supplement. I think there's a lot of research for it too. Another thing for men is your prostate. There's a molecule out there called DIM, diindolylmethamphetamine, and there are several supplements out there that give you that. Fish oil, which I know Andrew thinks is a really a good supplement, and yes, that's one of my many. And so I think those are the ones that jump to my mind right away. As we get older, you know, you don't want to have Alzheimer's. You don't want to live to be 90, but be Alzheimer's for your last 10 years.
Sure.
So I think the more you do that addresses how your mental faculties are, the better you are. And exercise, definitely. You need to be able to pick yourself up off the floor when you fall down.
The multivitamin won't do that for you, folks. You've got to be ready to do that. All right, so the last one, and I think maybe the most important one, although I'd argue all these are important. The last thing that my dad taught me once upon a time as I was going through school and becoming a doctor is to hold yourself and others in your own profession to the highest standards. And I think it starts every day with getting to work early, being ready to go, having your cases prepped from the night before, making sure that all your ducks are in a row. And we've spoken a lot of times about patient interactions that you've had, that I've had. I know that when we have conversations, typically after this video on Wednesday nights, we talk about the caseload as it came through. And I don't think, you know, I want your comments on that in just a second, but is there anything more important than being so passionate about what you do that you want to talk about it after it's over? Right? I mean, like, I think that that's such a great thing, that you like talking about your cases because they were important to you. You took time out of your life. You applied not just your professionalism, but a lot of your time and energy and emotion to making sure that you got good result out of that. I know that I do that in my office, and I know that that is something that you instilled in me once upon a time. Is there one particular story or example that comes to mind where you knew that you went above and beyond and the outcome was fantastic, and maybe more importantly, or equally importantly, somebody else, another nurse or another doctor, got to see that and maybe it changed what they do or how they function?
Well, the only thing that comes to my mind right now about that is I have been where I am for so long. I have had literally 3 different generations in the same family that I've done the anesthesia for. There'll be the parent, and then years later it'll be their child, and then years later it'll be the other children. And they'll remember me. Usually it's because of, they say it's because of my voice, or because you're wearing a mask, or because of my calm demeanor. But I'll always say, did everything go okay? And then what's nice is when people ask for me to take care of them over and over again. And when they do, I make a point of arranging to be present for them. The point for me is, I think, I like to make sure that I can give them the best care as if it was the care I was getting for myself. And I always have a follow-on. I have a pen that's got my name and my phone number on it. And I give that to my patients or their parents.
Is that your
Instead
personal
of a
phone
bus-
number? That's your personal phone number?
My personal phone number, and to be honest with you, no one has ever called me,
No kidding.
but they can always call me, and I want to know, especially if it's been a rough time, because sometimes, you know, especially when you're treating a little kid with cancer and they've been around so many times, and then they take out their port, and then they need to come back and they need an IV, and it's been a couple of years of being in the hospital. Those are the tough ones, and then, you know, the parents and the child just have a really tough time, and it's a tough time for me too. So
I don't think anyone wants to have to go back to the hospital, to that setting, or to that environment, but
Yeah.
I guess the fact that they asked for you has to be testament to the fact that you were impactful in the care that you were giving.
yeah.
So, anyways, you're in no danger out there, viewers. I love you all very dearly, but I'm not putting my cell phone number on a pen anytime soon. Although you can always reach me here in the comments section. You can always reach me at drmerrill@nightlightchiropractic.com. I wanted to thank my dad for coming in tonight and chatting with us here about lessons that I learned from my father. If you have any questions, you can find us both in the comments section here later on this evening. That's all we have for this evening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Be healthy and good night.
Happy 4th of July.